Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nico. This is Brighter Days, Darker Nights, and I'm here today with Janelle, and we are going to be talking about hormones, hibernation, polar climates, motherhood, postpartum, all the things. So, welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Janelle, thank you so much for coming to do this with me. Could you introduce yourself for the new people here? I know some of your people are coming, some of mine. So, yeah, what are you about?
Yeah, I'm really about women's health. That's what I specialize in.
Mm-hmm.
And for the past, 15 years, been sitting and working with women in birth, and beyond, honestly.
Yeah.
And then somehow I stumbled on your work. I really feel like maybe it was something Carrie had shared once. Carrie Bennett took her
Mm-hmm.
winter class maybe 18 months ago. And she might have shared something about you, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna follow the Substack," and then, I don't know, became a part of your practitioner program, and then jumped right in, was with the Applied Institute of Quantum Biology in the summer, took that as well, and that just kind of really connected dots for me,
Mm-hmm.
throughout my whole life, like, way be up before I took any training in body work or birth. Have always been living, like, a fairly natural lifestyle, and I've been really drawn to using nature as a modality of healing. And then, oh, duh, because it works. That's why I'm drawn to it. And I really thank my parents and like my grandparents because I was fairly blessed growing up from like the age of birth to 12, just growing up in northern Saskatchewan, up on Delaron Lake. My grandparents owned a resort, and for the months of May to September, pretty much lived up there with them forever until they got rid of it. And so that really made a foundational, like, circadian rhythm in my body that was very strong just by
Mm-hmm.
not having anything really inundating me during that foundational time when I was growing and learning how to build a circadian rhythm. And
Mm-hmm.
now even when I work shift work as a birth keeper and birth worker, like, I can still fall right back into, like, my regular rhythm, and I'm realizing now that, oh, it's compiled over years,
Mm-hmm.
years of me doing this, and, now I get to share it with people, which is,
Yeah. That's amazing because up north, everyone always is. I get so many questions about it. So that's why I invited you on because you have that real experience of what it's like where you have such radical season shifts up there from, summertime with the endless summer sun down to wintertime with it's like, where did the sun go? It's gone. Everything's frozen. So a
yeah.
lot of people think it's impossible to have a healthy circadian rhythm up there, but you're a great testament to the fact that it is possible to be healthy and to thrive in that climate, even with the challenges.
Yeah, and, I would say the indigenous people who've lived here forever were
Mhm.
the gatekeepers of this information, and they just lived it, and honestly, we're kind of lucky in that sense that we can really see firsthand what's happened in the past 3, 4 generations of people switching their lifestyles here,
Mhm.
and it's, not that great outcomes
Okay.
health-wise. Yeah.
Right. So we see that like latitude spread where like cancer tends to like be higher in those northern climates compared with down at the equator and other conditions too. So how are some of the ways that you're working with winter and the season shift now to to not have those negative seasonal affective disorder being one of the ones that a lot of people just think is, oh, it's a given, like this just
Yeah.
happens.
It's extremely hard, I wanna just throw that out there,
Mhm.
because of the way that our world's currently set up. I
Yeah.
mean, most of us, we spend the majority of our time indoors in winter.
Mhm.
And now if you think about a new build house, built-in LEDs.
Mhm.
You got built-in LED pot lights in every room,
Mhm.
got a mirror lit up, we got your LED little border around it. Then we can even think about technology, because
Mhm.
if we're inside, we're usually not just reading books. We
Right.
are usually using technology, TV, cell
Mhm.
phones, some kind of computer device. And again, these are black backlit LEDs.
Yeah.
I have done some research. There's some cool new products coming out where they're actually trying to decrease blue light in
Mm-hmm.
televisions in the LED spectrums, but I don't know how well that's working and who's buying those because they're very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so just take note that, hey, this is all, if we lived in a perfect world, this is what it would be like. But for
Yeah.
the majority of us who live up in northern parts of the world, high northern hemisphere, I'm talking like 52 degrees north latitude or
Mm-hmm.
more, so
Mm-hmm.
quite high. Um, we have to make conscious decisions of like what we're gonna do and how we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna and kind of introduce this to our children and pass this along to friends and family
Mm-hmm.
because it can seem really extreme to all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm not using lights at night anymore. We just use candles around the dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Like your friends and colleagues at work might look at you like, what? Why would you ever think about doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And so I'm like, take it for what you want and implement it in whatever way you want. This isn't like some strict regimen protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more just having fun. And when we have children, the more fun you make it, the better chances are that they're going to follow along versus being like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, mom says
Yeah.
XYZ, mandatory.
I've heard that from a lot of moms who have teens, which I think your children are old. Your daughter, right, is
Yeah,
older
she's
now.
almost 16. And so
Yeah.
Um, my threat to her is if she doesn't turn her screen brightness down, like, she gets to wear the glasses, like, the
Oh, so
yellow.
she'd rather turn the screen down.
Yes. So in all of her videos, she doesn't have the glasses on, so that's how I got it to work with her on that front. And then a
Perfect.
lot of it is just, like, building it
Mm-hmm.
into your lifestyle, and so, for example, for those who don't live up north, the sun right now doesn't even rise until 8:30 AM.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sunrise.
Yeah.
In the next few weeks, coming up to winter solstice, it doesn't even rise until after 9 AM.
Mm-hmm.
So even when we're following, mainstream influencers and other people on the internet, and they're like telling you to do all these amazing things in the morning, honestly, if you're doing them here, it's gonna confuse your circadian rhythm. You're
Mm-hmm.
going and putting on all these different workout regimes and turning on red lights and doing all these things, like, your body's not expecting that right now, and so
Mm-hmm.
it is hard. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got a Norway buddy here, so you know exactly what it's like, um, and you probably have a lot of built-in things just, culturally, like we do, that make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, modern productivity and work schedules, school patterns, all of these things really hinder us because they force
Mm-hmm.
us to get up and do things, eat food before our body's expecting it. And so that's where it becomes this juggling act of like, what do you want to do as a family? For
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm lucky. I just get to pick my work schedule and start later. Uh,
Yeah, I love that individualization that we can do when we do take control of our schedules. And sometimes I get pushback from people when I'm sharing because they're saying that they can't because of school, because of work, all of these things. And I get it because I was there when my first daughter was born. We tried doing school with her, and I was working a normal job. My husband was working, somewhat normal jobs. And eventually we realized that it just wasn't working for us. And so we had to draw back from like the world, and we eventually ended up homeschooling and becoming entrepreneurs so that we could control our own schedule. And that has made us so much happier as a family and gives us so much more time together. Some of the ancient writings, even just a couple hundred years ago, before electric lighting was everywhere, there's stories about the middle of the night waking, hearing about that as being a time for contemplation. And even then, they were talking about how inside of the cities that doesn't happen, but in the country, it was still a thing. And that part of the busyness of everything and working such long hours and all of that is there's a lot less time for reflection, a lot less time in that liminal space compared with if you're in that candlelit environment and doing more of a polyphasic sleep thing. So I know that's something that you have made work for you. And I think you might be one of the only ones up in the far north who's really often doing the first sleep, second sleep. So I was hoping that today you'd share a little bit about what that looks like for you and how you came into it and what kind of adjustments you've had to make to your lifestyle in order to facilitate that.
Yeah, that honestly happened naturally last year when I started implementing a lot of winterizing in my life.
Mhm.
And really, I've never supplemented vitamin D, like as a routine supplement in my life.
Mhm.
Periodically, maybe around like an illness or something like that. But I've never really been drawn to it. And again, that's just like my mom and dad. They never really like told us like, hey, supplement vitamin D. Just like wasn't something we talked about as a family.
Mhm.
So that made it easier for me
Yeah.
to be able to winterize because I really never suppressed my melatonin um, in my life yet. And
Mhm.
so, besides our drinking water source in Saskatoon, which is not the best for our pineal melatonin, but that's another story.
Oh,
And
is
so,
that fluoride? Does it have natural fluoride or do they add it?
we add a lot of fluoride
Yeah.
to our water here. So,
Mhm.
and really for me, it became, oh, I'm just going to start not being in brighter light as the sun started to set. And once you become
Mhm.
aware of sun patterns,
Right.
now that I've been really honing my eye in on it, I can even like see different light spectrums throughout the
Mm.
day as the sun moves through the sky. Like
Mhm.
as it breaks in the dawn, it's like, oh, duh, we have blue light because you can see it
Yeah.
looks blue everywhere. And then
Mhm.
as the day goes on, you got to see these different colors. You can see people posting pictures of Saskatchewan sunsets all over because that's when you see the purple. That's when you see these other spectrums of light start to show up. And once you get cued into it and start eliminating LED,
Mhm.
you just fall asleep. Oh, the sun's setting at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I don't know. I come home from
Mhm.
work at 2. I sit down with my cat. Next thing you know, we're sleeping. Like just really no even trying. I feel like a lot of people push against this here culturally
Mhm.
because how are you supposed to get dinner ready? How are you supposed to pick your kids up? How are you supposed to get to whatever next
Mhm.
thing when you're napping for 2 hours in like this
Mhm.
peak productivity moment of
Okay.
motherhood? And so you just have to honestly go with it. And
Mhm.
that's just what I did. It was really easy. Um, when I would just naturally wake up, like, I know a lot about sleep cycles and natural human energy patterns, like, we usually get a 90-minute window of, like, activity, and then we'll have, like, either a 40-minute rest period or a 90-minute rest period, so if I can have my nap be around 90 minutes, I don't really get fatigued from it. Now
Mhm.
my body just naturally wakes up, "Oh, cool, let's prep supper." Again, it's gonna be easy
Mhm.
'cause supper here in the northern world is like meat. It's like put a roast in even before you have your nap,
Yeah.
and then with you can eat some food when you wake up.
Mhm.
Lots of people ask me like, "Well, how do you go back to bed?"
Mhm.
Well, it's easy if you don't overstimulate yourself. Most of us,
Mhm.
and then even not even in a northern climate, most of us after sunset, we're sitting in front of TVs. We have all of our lights on. We haven't really put in too much thought. I mean, the people watching this probably have put in thought about what they're doing, but the majority of the world just flicking that on. And the technology makers, they're well aware of this and they make it really hard to dim your TV.
Mm.
They make it really hard.
Mhm.
And it even gets into like production of the filming. They
Mhm.
know they don't want you to turn your blue light off. And
Mhm.
so some TV you can't even watch without a backlight.
Mhm.
The filming is just so, so, so dark,
Yeah.
that you're kind of forced to decide, "Do I even wanna watch this show right now, or is it better for Saturday afternoon?"
Mhm. Yeah. I have that even with like storybook time with the children. We often do that in the afternoon and have not stopped doing that at bedtime because even with the red flashlight shining on it, it still can be very bright and stimulating for them. Whereas if we just do like oral storytelling the way that we used to, and just like we will tell, well, they don't really like Little Red Riding Hood, but the Three Pigs or whatever it is of the day. Um, we'll tell those stories, or they love hearing stories about when I was a child, and then I'll tell them those kinds of things and they will be listening. And then that's what they get before bedtime rather than looking at pictures and having that visual stimulation. Instead, they're looking inside of their minds. And then we might shift into doing a couple lullabies. And then they, go to bed and I hear them chit chatting in their room. They share a room. I'll hear it go on for a while and then eventually they just drift off. And it's so nice and it feels so smooth compared with if when children like, and we've gone and visited other people's houses or like relatives, and then it's TV on, and then they turn the TV off, and then the kids are like running around the house, bouncing off the walls. And we're like, hey, what if we dim the lights? Are you crazy? Like, let's just try it. And like a few minutes later, they're all like, the cousins are all laying down on the couch, like, we're tired. Can we brush our teeth? Yes.
It's
Yes, you
so
may.
instant. It's so instant. My spouse, luckily a polyphasic sleeper naturally, has never really gotten out of it, works like
Mm-hmm.
as a DJ and a soccer coach. So it's like very different lifestyle work pattern than the regular
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
And so luckily they're able to just kind of sleep whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
My teenager, I don't force to do polyphasic sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
but I do let her sleep in more
Mm-hmm.
in winter. So she's usually like a sunriser in the summer. She'll just get up with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So in winter, it's normal for her to wake up at like 7:30 or later, even during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's okay. We'll make that work. And just trust that I let her walk to school a little bit. That when she's outside at that 8:30 to 9 o'clock time period,
Mm-hmm.
that she's going to get enough blue light from the environment to wake her up
Yeah.
for school, um,
Mm-hmm.
and have it not be a worry that, oh, she didn't get up, 2 or 3 hours before class started. It's like, no, I let her walk outside in the cold, getting some of that natural sunlight in her eyes. She doesn't wear glasses,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, so I know she's getting it.
Yeah.
And I just trust that that little cue, is enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're working with women like for childbirth, the birth environment right now is so often like we're shining flashlight like even if it's dark in the room, providers are always wanting to see what's going on. So what have you noticed about like women's natural tendencies and what they want in labor and what kind of things are happening and how does that influence what ends up playing out?
Yeah, I find that really interesting because I do both hospital and home births.
Mhm.
But I also do a lot of free births where there's really no medical provider there. It's just like us hanging out having a baby. And
Mhm.
I can tell you in those situations, there's never any light
Yeah.
at all. Um, and I can easily tell where a woman is in labor just by how I walk into her house and the space that she's in. She's
Mhm.
watching TV and like doing things like that. It's like, okay, that's cool. Like I'll hang out for a little bit, but mostly try to encourage people to get into a space that is gonna, rest and bring them down in their nervous system a little bit.
Mhm.
But then this becomes compiled with modern maternity advice from their doctors and or hospital system, where it's
Mm.
like, how do you know to go to the hospital? Instead of tuning inward, we're like, you better time on your phone with contraction patterns. And honestly, women who time their contraction pattern in early labor will stay in early labor for days, like 5 days, up to 2 weeks. Because what are they doing? Every time they get into a nice labor flow, boom, blue light,
Mm.
shut down the whole entire cascade.
Mm.
Um, and what I love to do in a hospital room when I'm there, come in, turn off all the lights, and then sometimes I'll even put, like, blankets and little towels over some of their little, like, LED bulbs from the machine,
Mm.
just because those are quite glaring.
Yeah.
We Some hospitals will offer comfort carts with little, like, LED lights, and again, I really discourage families from using them because the LED light little universal show on the ceiling isn't really calming for our
Mhm.
nervous system. LED light is very different from laser, and really it causes cellular chaos and anxiety when we see LED light, even if it is red, blue, green, like these softer colors versus a jarring white or a light blue. It's just not going to work for our biology. And so,
Yeah.
if we could have candles in a hospital, that'd be great. But they're
Mhm.
prohibited, and it
I
makes me
know.
wonder. There's probably a reason. And I know you know a little bit about like productivity in hospital and institutional places, and a lot of the lights in those environments are totally for the workers. They're
Yeah.
to keep your nurse awake during their 12-hour shift because
Mhm.
biologically we can't do that without a light overnight telling us, "Hey, it's noon. You
Mhm.
should be awake and wanting to do stuff."
Yeah. Yep.
And it's hard
Absolutely.
as a support person because when you're in that light environment that's dark and dim, guess what? You're gonna be struggling to fight that nap.
Mhm.
But any wise birth woman knows if you're in labor and your midwife sleeping next to you, there is nothing going on and you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah. Yep. My most recent birth was at home, and my husband was so mellow. It was our fifth birth, and yeah, it cracked me up that he was just like so sleeping, and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I don't want to do this tonight. I think I want to do it tomorrow. And he like kind of rolls over. He's like, you can do it, and like goes back to sleep. So I'm just there like all by myself, and pretty soon, the baby's coming out, and then he finally was like, oh, okay, I'll wake up. Not that I hear, um, the water bursting everywhere. Then like the action's happening. Okay, now it's time to spring into action. But yeah, before that, there really wasn't anything him or anyone else could have done for me in that state. Just waiting.
And definitely when women are in that like darker, calm, light environment, their labors flow totally different. Their
Mhm.
pain reception to it is extremely different. They have a different capacity for pain
Mhm.
tolerance. Just not having, I'm assuming their body's actually doing a lot of energy wasting, kind of controlling the environment at a
Mhm.
mitochondrial level versus just like using that energy to flow into birth. Which
Mhm.
is why I feel like women can labor naturally on their own for quite a while without reaching a fatigue state.
Mhm.
Just because they become that like universal, like energy vortex, like literally pulling in whatever electrons they need from the environment. And
Mhm.
in a hospital, you're fighting a lot of technology, stealing those free electrons from you
Yep.
becomes a kind of a cellular
Mhm.
mess.
Yeah, it does. I've actually read studies looking at the uterus, and all the contractions does create reactive oxygen species. It's oxidative stress, but in the labors that where they look at arrest of descent, that's like medical term, stalled labor, whatever. That those ones have like significantly higher inflammatory markers than the women who
Mhm.
just like progressed through there. So we do know that the oxidative stress is like associated with things not progressing as fast, and of course they don't really appreciate that pause in the labor environment when everyone's on the clock and getting paid by the hour. It's more like they want it to push everyone through. And so rather than that pause and rest, it's like, oh, crank up the Pitocin or whatever they're going to do to try to augment that labor and fire it back up rather than allowing the woman's body to pause. And a lot of, home births that I've seen, it's common for it to pause, to slow down for the day and then pick up again at night or have a little nap and then like wake up in full labor.
Yeah.
Is another really common one where it's like, wait, she's gonna sleep in labor? Like, yeah. And then she's gonna wake up and do the work.
And if you've hung out with a woman, like I know you have in the late
Mhm.
3rd trimester, like that's
Yeah.
what they're doing anyways. They get up, they do an activity. Oh, I'm gonna go nap. Get up, go do an activity, pick the kids up. Oh, go and sleep.
Yeah.
And again, culturally, we're pretty much encouraged to not do that because,
Mhm.
napping is so horrible for our circadian rhythm.
Mhm.
And I know me and you have both read many studies where it's like, actually, there's lots of people around the world in non-industrialized places that still do polyphasic sleep and
Mhm.
thrive.
Mhm.
Literally no chronic health conditions the way that we
Mhm.
have in Saskatchewan,
Mhm.
trying to do this 8-hour overnight whatever sleep that's
Mhm.
pretty much non-biological. And if we understood this as adults, maybe we'd be more chill with our children.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh, we're
Yeah.
not sleeping all night. Why should we be concerned that they are?"
Mhm.
And someone did ask in there, "Have you done circadian rhythms and light sleep with my teen ever since she was born?" Well, no, because she was born early, so she was born at 28 weeks, so her initial
Oh.
light experience was in the NICU, um, which was way before I learned quantum biology. But luckily, 16 years ago, I just went in there and, like, fought for kangaroo care, like a little wild woman at 22 years old, like, "Get out of my way, I'm holding my little baby."
Mhm.
And now I know that I was offloading a lot of her oxidative stress from the
Mhm.
environment that she was in, and we were able to go home 45 days later, which is pretty
Beautiful.
phenomenal when you think
Mhm.
about, a baby born at 28 weeks leaving the hospital 45 days later.
Mhm.
Almost unheard of in most NICUs, and we were breastfeeding and, I was doing a lot of this just natural mothering, stuff that 16 years ago, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, to influence me, so it was just, like, me and my mothering instincts. No one
Yeah.
was there to, like, blabble in my ear on some trending story that I could see, and I
Mhm.
also really wasn't using a cell phone a lot when I think about it, like, in
Mhm.
my early motherhood 16
Yeah.
years ago, like, it just wasn't when I look at my Facebook posts during that time period, it was like 1 a week of, like, a
Yeah.
sentence about her cute butt or something, like, it was not the same quantity of light exposure that we have now,
Mhm.
very different. And, because of that, I would say that my lifestyle alone, she just really hasn't had excessive light. She only got a phone in the past few years. I've gone in, she has Twilight, like, app on her phone, so it, like, kind of follows the sun
Mhm.
sequence and dims the light automatically. Does she use it all the time? I don't know. But I do know that if you can talk to your kids before the age of 12,
Mhm. Yeah.
before they go through puberty, that's really when the mecca of parenting is.
Mhm.
Because they have all these beautiful biological things in their head, in their brain. They hear our voice. They're like, oh my gosh, mom is talking. Like it's God talking to us pretty much. Her brain even gave her like neurological input, like I should listen to what this person's saying. After they go through puberty, they lose that. They actually don't get, like, that soft, warm, fuzzy feeling when they hear their parents' voices anymore, and
Mm.
some of that is this biology of them, like, "Hey, you need to leave and meet peers to
Yeah.
get information from instead of your parents."
Mhm.
You eventually need to leave your parents, and it's just, like,
Yes.
biological input.
Mhm.
So, like, if you can talk to them before then, way better. They're
Mhm.
way more open to it.
Yeah.
And I know my kid heard some things because I can hear her every once in a while on her video chats with her friends, dropping some mom wisdom, um, in her own subtle ways about like, maybe your period shouldn't hurt or like it's normal to nap in winter or whatever she's talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love
One thing
that.
I have changed with my teen is not being so caught up on if she's dressing weather appropriate in fall.
Mm.
I actually want her to have cold exposure and want
Mhm.
her to trust her body, telling her like, "Hey, you don't need to wear a big winter jacket right now." The more cold exposure that we can get before it becomes -40,
Mm.
when it's dangerous to have our skin exposed outside,
Mhm.
the better it is for her mitochondria and her melatonin and all of her systems that are designed for winter to turn
Yeah.
online. And we do need the cold temperature,
Mhm.
exposure to trigger that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I always am sending my children outside first thing and, here in Southern Oregon, it's much different situation. So we have had a few mornings with like a tiny bit of like ice on top of the puddles, but for the most part, we haven't had that deep freeze yet. So everything's still green and lush. The leaves haven't all fallen from the trees. You can see behind me. A bit how it is here. I don't have a hard jacket on right now, and so likewise with the children, a lot of times what I'll tell them is, bring it with you, and if you don't need it, great, and if you do, then you have it, and that like if they're going on a longer excursion, and it's yeah, really amazing how resilient they are to the weather and also how much they listen. There's so many times when they will come running back and they're like, "You're right, I need a jacket," and so a lot of rather than just forcing it really been learning that with my 2-year-old right now because he's going through this stage of he was doing so much no, just really no, 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 no. And so when he says no, instead of fighting it, I'll just say, okay, or whatever. And then it's like, wait, 10, 9, 8. And then he's like, okay. And then he'll like grab the, cup of kefir or whatever that he said he didn't want. I'll be like, okay, well, I'll leave it here for you in case you change your mind and then go and put my attention on something else. And then he's like, oh, wait, yeah. But there's that like that battle where if you're just fighting and fighting, then they don't have that moment to take a pause and figure out what they actually want because they can really get caught up in that fight.
And I mean, it's hard because we are really taught here to not understand the atmosphere and how it feels on our body because we love to be comfortable. As modern humans in the 21st century, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, comfort over everything. And it's like, what? Being
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable is honestly the best part of being human, because it lets your body know what it actually needs to do or plan for.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we are doing weird things, and even in the summer, I find this is why so many people struggle in winter here, is because we have extreme summers. So for those of you who don't know Saskatchewan weather, this evening it will be minus 27 Celsius
Mm-hmm.
with wind chill, so that's minus 17 Fahrenheit. And in the summer, we'll go to like plus 40 degrees Celsius. Um, so 100 degrees Fahrenheit almost.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
is extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't allow yourself to feel the heat of summer and your body to know, like, okay, now we're in the peak of summer, have to change some of my processes so that my metabolism matches this, my thermoregulation handles it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, what do we do here and pretty much everywhere in the world? Air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
So we take it down from this nice, beautiful temperature that our body's expecting and drop it down to like winter temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
And then when fall comes, we don't really spend a lot of time outside because we're all working too much. And
Yeah.
when we do go outside, we usually have sunglasses on here because
Mm.
the sun's so bright. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and always in our eyes while driving. So we block a lot of this information, cueing our body
Mm-hmm.
into winter programming. This year and definitely last year, I spent way more time doing cold exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And my capacity for minus 40 became exponential.
Wow.
Really, I take a lot of cues from the indigenous people here before we lived in houses, before
Mm-hmm.
we moved them into houses, and like what were they doing? Oh yeah, they were just sitting in a teepee on the earth with a group of people. They were usually
Mm-hmm.
never alone.
Yeah.
Again, being alone in the winter equals death here, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
Very biological. So we're always together, and they were next to a fire. That was really the key to winter survival,
Yeah.
was the fire, and we just don't use that at all in the modern world. We honestly hate fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's the memo we get pretty early on, like, "Don't let your kids play with fire, it's dangerous. Don't let
Yeah.
them know how to build a fire, it's dangerous. Don't have candles, you'll start a house fire." Um,
And I do know someone who that has happened to, but I know many more people who have used them who have not burned their house down.
yeah, there are safe ways to do this.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ways that I'm gonna start implementing this year for sure, because I was thinking, like, "How can I get more fire in the winter?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna build a snow fort in the backyard.
Oh.
and then have a fire available to us whenever we want, day or night.
Mm-hmm.
Just think you wake up at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep. Oh, instead of watching TV, you could go into your snow fort and have a fire. Sounds lovely to me.
I love this idea.
And honestly, your kids are gonna be into it. It's
Yeah.
fun for them. They get to build, they're outside. And
Mhm.
another thing that I really wanted to bring in this winter was getting more grounding with
Mhm.
earth in winter.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds crazy to us comfortable, warm folk in a house, but we have lots of mammals who don't have houses,
Mhm.
who don't have central heating, who don't even have warm food, really, if you think about it, don't build fires, and yet they are able to get a lot of energy and maintain their cellular resources by laying on the earth in winter. And they don't get hypothermia and other things. Usually it's during a snowfall. So the snow covers them like a little blanket. And that
Mm.
snow also acts like a conductor of energy as well.
Mm.
And there's a reason why people have been living in igloos in
Yeah.
snow-covered places, and it's
Mhm.
because it saved them a lot of energy. In -40, they could get energy from the walls of their house,
Mm.
get energy from the ground they're sitting on.
Mhm.
We can't do that here in our modern houses.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's taking our energy.
Mhm. Yep, yeah, the all the plastic installation, this breaks those, connections with the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, Eva, I was asking, do I do cold exposure on my period or do less? In the winter, definitely not doing much cold exposure when I'm bleeding. That's just my own personal preference. Um, and perhaps some of that comes down to like my genes and where like my ancestral lines come from, Northern European mix all over. So like we didn't really move too far off.
Mhm.
I could probably get away with doing cold exposure if I felt like it, but I'd probably be more prone to do like a sauna and like some kind of outdoor walk to the sauna, cold exposure. That would be about it. Um, my spouse, on the
Mhm.
other hand, she's woman and from a different part of the world. Her ancestral lines part Scottish, part Nigerian, absolutely cannot handle cold at all. It really changes her blood structure and losing that UVB that her body is expecting all year round,
Mm.
very hard for her cycles in the winter. So definitely she's a heat person and I send her away to the sun a few times in winter just because she cannot handle the northern UVB disappearing. Like her body cannot, her cells are struggling. And you can see that now um because we have so many people coming from different populations and
Yeah.
different regions of the world that end up in Saskatchewan, and when I work on them doing womb care or pelvic work, period issues, fertility things, I'm always like, "Okay, you can't think and live like you are still at home in Pakistan.
Mhm.
You can't. You get sun all year round there, and
Mhm.
it's not like that here, and we really have to start critically thinking, when we do big globalization patterns of humans, like, what are we really doing?
Mm.
Uh What's really driving some of this movement of humans around? And then grocery stores, they kind of play into this when we move to another place. We don't usually seek out local food. We're still eating our same food from back home. It's
Mhm.
really giving us mixed messages to the -40 outside.
Yes. Yeah, I see that even here in Oregon, like I was saying, and I'm somewhat south compared with where most of my ancestors were, and one of my sons who has very like, he has the most fair skin of us, and he really struggles in the summertime, and his moods go absolutely crazy, and if he gets too hot for too long, like, he will just not be in a great state, whereas now that the weather's all cold and foggy again, he's just absolutely thriving, and he loves, like, dressing up in all of his winter gear, and he's so hardy, and so I think about that, and I wonder where the kids children will go, because some of my children have like dark skin and very dark eyes, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if you're going to go south and you're going to go north, and how are we going to do family holidays? Because yeah, it is, there's a big ancestral component that's kind of not really talked about that much, and it's even hard to tease out in the literature because they'll put all of these like crazy acronyms on the genes, and it's like, okay, but where did this polymorphism come from?
Yeah.
And how do we optimize for that?
And I honestly encourage people, if you're starting cold exposure, start simple, sitting next to an open door or window.
Mhm.
If you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's too much." Or like when we start doing sun exposure increasing, maybe start with an extremity, a
Mhm.
hand, a foot,
Yeah.
something just out there. Well, you don't need to have your full body exposed because
Yeah.
our body is one continuous information pathway.
Mhm.
So even if your hand's getting exposure to that light, all of the
Mhm.
cells are picking up that information too. So we don't have to be so extreme thinking like cold exposure, jumping into like a cold water bath. No, it's just hanging out in your
Mhm.
car, even with your windows rolled down and
Mhm.
no heat going while you drive to work.
Yeah.
That would be how you start it here when it gets really cold. Like, say you're just starting this weekend, -20. Like, okay, you're not gonna be going outside in your little sweater on the deck. Like, you might literally
Yeah.
just start with your head being exposed
Mhm.
and your hands not having mittens while you take the garbage out.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah. You can tell when your body has had like, part of the reason is to fire up your mitochondria because you have internal heat. So you can tell when you've had the exposure when suddenly you get like a rush of heat across your body. So if you just are going out and you're just getting colder and colder and colder, and you're not actually feeling like a wave of vitality, like your cheeks are getting flushed and all of that, that's how you can tell when your body's actually doing the thing. So yeah, overexposure is just a stress response, whereas a therapeutic exposure is going to give you that rush of vitality and will feel really good. When I did the Wim Hof training a couple weeks in, he had you do an ice bath just for one hand, and if you set a timer for I think like 2 minutes, and you would be able to feel your body do the recycling, and you'd feel the rush of heat in your hand, and that's one way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that you could try that. And then you're in your house, you're safe, you can put it right next to the heater and warm up afterwards. And it's not drawn your mitochondria actually are more efficient when you do that. So it's really a cool thing that feels really, really good when it's done properly, but it's not something to make you miserable.
Yes. Just like sun exposure. So many
True.
people do it in, like, an extreme way, and I'm like, "Honestly, start with your feet. Start with
Yes.
your feet. You don't need to get a sunburn, you don't need to, like, be out
Mhm.
for extended periods of time, like, 10 minutes of sun multiple times a day on your feet, like, wow, you're gonna feel like a new person come July."
Mhm.
And that's really what winter is preparing us for. If we can sink into this, like, rest, polyphasic, not doing much, super non-productive state and not stress out about it, it prepares us for that peak of summer.
Mhm.
It prepares us to be able to do this intense metabolic growth that summer light's giving us the opportunity to do.
Mhm.
And so many of us here, we fall into summer patterns in winter, um, and honestly miss this opportunity to restore,
Mhm.
to do deep healing at a cellular level, and honestly stop a lot of those, chronic disease patterns that we do have, because you need melatonin, on board to set off a lot of those cell death processes. "Oh, this cell's not functioning well. Maybe we should, shut it down and have it not reproduce."
Mhm.
Very important in the dark. And
Yeah.
Catlin asks on here, any helpful tips for weathering through winter, being in early pregnancy and in the first trimester? Just own the sleep that your body is asking for. It's
Yeah.
all good. It's
Yep.
preparing you for the 3rd and 4th trimester.
Mhm.
And it's great that vitamin D isn't available for us because that's just going to allow our melatonin to take over. Melatonin and vitamin D, they're like two little buddies. They do fairly similar things in the body and even have very similar like enzyme pathways to be used in our body. And so if we're supplementing vitamin D all winter, our body is like, wow, it's summer, right? Then we go outside and it's -40 and it's like, huh? I'm so confused. I thought we were building things. Now we're outside and you're telling me to not do anything because it's so cold. And so just have to trust that your body will just take over vitamin D processes with melatonin and also pull out your stores of vitamin D that you saved up all summer from eating great food and being in the sun to do what melatonin can't. And so hopefully that helps a little bit. Do you have anything to add, Nico?
Oh, that's great. I think of the vitamin D question that we have the two types. We have the solar vitamin D and we have the dietary vitamin D. And so there is a natural seasonal swing between the summertime where you have a huge amount of solar available and the wintertime where then like eating fatty fish has been shown to help with maintaining healthy vitamin D levels. It's stored sunlight in that fish. So yeah, I always am like, yeah, eat your seafood. You don't need these mega doses, and the mega doses, over 10,000 IU, I believe, can actually make your body be resistant to vitamin D and not actually be able to run it properly. So there were a lot of studies where they were trying to get people their vitamin D, but people were terrible at taking pills, so they would give them 50,000 IU at once. And I still talk to people who are like, "Oh yeah, my doctor has me come in and take 50,000 IUs." And it's so against the research on vitamin D. Like, we know that that is not ideal. Like, yes, it will drive your blood levels up, like when you test it. But when you look at like the functional, what needs to be happening, it's very much interfering with the storage recycling process. So I'm very against bolus doses of vitamin D. I'm very pro seafood. If you can get wild harvested mushrooms, like there's all kinds of dietary sources that are natural and gentle. And part of that is also back to that like genetic epigenetic question where if your ancestors are from a polar climate, then they likely have stronger pathways, processing ability for the dietary. Whereas if they're from that equatorial, they were not having as much of the dietary and much more of the solar pathway tendencies. So there's definitely a dance where you trust your body and try different things and see what
Yeah.
works. And you learn more year over year too. Like the first year of doing things, second year of doing things, third year of doing things. You can really shift and also develop the palate for those more gnarly, they're more flavorful winter foods that a lot of people aren't used to eating. If you grew up on a standard American diet, like your version of fish is like we ate fish sticks that were like breaded and deep fried. You're telling me you want me to eat gently cooked salmon with the skin on, like the skin and everything, like ew. But
Yeah.
eventually you're like gobbling it up if that's what your body wants.
Yeah. I've had some big girl talks with myself just when I started eating organ meat and things, to be like, hey, like you've eaten literal, like the worst things that we've produced as humans, thinking it's nourishing, and you're having trouble eating like a tiny piece of liver.
Mhm.
And so after I had some stern talks with myself,
Yeah.
that also helped and made it way more palpable. And that's why I also encourage like eating the food versus taking a supplement.
Mhm.
Even though it is maybe a weird flavor to begin with, it's gonna alert to your body that like, oh, weird. I'm eating this nutrient. Do I actually need it? And over
Mhm.
time, you'll be able to just tell by tasting food your mineral and vitamin levels without
Mhm.
even doing lab work. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. With that fish, sometimes the fish tastes metallic. I'm like, oh, I don't need this today. Other times I will eat fish like day after day. And I used to be afraid of it because I had been so worried about the metal contamination in seafood. And then eventually I learned like, oh, I really can tell when my body needs it or not, because it will literally taste like metal if I don't need
Yeah.
it. It's like the same batch that's sitting in the freezer. Um, so
And
yeah.
mushrooms are one of my favorite winter
Mm-hmm.
ways to accumulate vitamin D. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's why they're so common in northern
Yeah.
hemisphere places. That's
Yeah.
why, like, the Slavic traditions of winter are eating mushrooms. That's
Hmm.
why Santa Claus, he brought mushrooms to everybody
Yeah.
back in those oral traditions of winter. Um,
I'm so
and
excited. I have a
the ring.
shopping bag of matsutake waiting for me when I get home. That's what we're going to be processing those. And they're so delicious. They smell like cinnamon, and they're
Mhm.
right from the forest out here.
Yeah.
So I know you've talked a lot about local foods and the ways that you're incorporating local foods there. Sorry for kind of talking over you. I got so excited thinking when I just suddenly remembered, like, oh,
No.
I do have some of
Mushrooms
that ready.
are so great. And there's that other layer of mushrooms too. If you eat like outside of like a food type mushroom into more of the medicinal mushrooms,
Hmm.
there is a reason why we were using them when we were stuck in a place for extended periods of time with the same group of 5 to 10 people. Like, of course, you wanted to eat something that's going to take you somewhere. Just
Interesting.
so
Right.
that you can, like, handle that time period stuck to
Hmm.
each other all the time, so I think
Hmm.
there's lots going on there in winter and that introspective, dark, liminal space, mushrooms
Hmm.
just feed right into it, and if you're eating the right type of mushrooms, say, like an amanita, it's like, just gives you so much GABA and, like, boom, you'll be
Mm.
deep in the forest ground with those mushrooms having a
Hmm.
good winter's nap.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, looking at those indigenous ways, how did we get through this time, and that the environment is still there. It's just kind of slowly building up the reconnection to it and doing it in ways that are uh, social and safe. I often find that too with women when they're really struggling with their postpartum time, which we need kind of this similar type of ability to handle doldrum. I've heard of prolactin, I think, as a hormone that allows you to handle the same thing day in, day out.
Yeah.
And that's not what we are trained. We're taught like through TV and everything to really seek that novelty and new experiences all of the time rather than to really sit with ourselves and sit with the people around us and have those more internal connections together. So you have a retreat coming up. We're getting close to the top of the hour. I'd love to hear about your winter retreats and how you're supporting people, and for you to share how they can get in touch with you to soak up more of your northern wisdom.
Yeah. My friend Lacey and I started hosting a hibernation retreat 3 winters ago now, so this is the 3rd winter we've done it,
Hmm.
and it's always around the 1st weekend of December. Again, this narrative that, like, I don't have time now to sit and do nothing. The lists are piling up, which is
Yeah.
usually the messages that people come to the hibernation with. They're like, "Ooh, didn't really have time, but, like, wanna make time to do this. I don't know how it's gonna work out in the rest of my life." And really during that retreat, we hone in on winter circadian health. We do nothing, honestly. There's, like, minimal plans on the hibernation retreat. Me and my friend Lacey, we will share a couple small teachings. Usually, everything is gonna be associated around seasonal food, so we always have, like, some kind of seasonal food that we're eating, doing together. This year, I've incorporated a wood fire sauna, so we can have that infrared light experience. If there's an overnight option this year, which is something we just added. Again, I wanted to really have people experience, like, what would happen if I went to bed at 4:30?
Hmm.
Like, if I have that opportunity, like, what does that even feel like?
Right.
Um, and also this, like, slow morning. Instead of waking up at 6 in the morning and going to the gym and, like, eating carb-rich breakfasts and things, which, like, our body does not want in an infrared light environment. That's summer food. That's
Hmm.
summer activity. It probably just wants us to wake up and, like, do some lymphatic movement. Oh, lay
Hmm.
in the sauna and eat roast meat, like, that sounds like a great winter
Hmm.
morning.
Yeah.
But again, we live in a world that works Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. People
Mm.
are dropping their kids off. everyone's leaving the house by 7:30, and it's like, whoa, just slow down a little bit
Yeah.
and take another route if you want.
Hmm.
But it will take a lot of personal choice and family, like cultural decisions, because you will be going against the grain, especially if you live in a northern hemisphere. You're going to be the only one doing it. Um,
Yeah.
Sleeping in, taking naps after work, um, and
Changing your
really,
schedule.
yeah. And this whole like trend of keto and stuff like that's not even a dietary um diet, I would call. That's like a lifestyle way of eating for
Mm.
people in northern hemispheres that people in California somehow jumped on and have now sold to the world as like some kind of like way to lose weight. And it's like only if you live in a low light environment. Otherwise, your body needs carbs
Hmm.
to handle the light that it's getting exposed to. So it's very confusing to me how keto became such a popular thing when people here in Saskatchewan who should be eating keto refuse to. Like, they're like, "Absolutely not.
Hmm.
I need all of these other things," and it's like, I have people in other parts of the world who should be eating carbs who refuse to, and I'm like, "What is happening?" So, very interesting when you get into it, and so
Yeah.
when you can experience it and then having it in a group setting versus you just, like, floundering around at home experimenting by yourself, it begins to feel a little less weird. When
Hmm.
now suddenly I have a bunch of people that I follow on Instagram all having candlelight dinners every night.
And
Oh,
breakfast.
nobody's watching TV after candlelight dinner. They're all just like
Hmm.
doing whatever, chilling as a family. Maybe they're all hanging outside making snow angels because they all want contact with the earth. It's like these different things suddenly become like not weird because everyone around you is doing it. So you can build your own little like circadian community where if you're sharing or talking about something that your family's doing, you're like you're not the only one. Other people can be like, "Oh yeah, I noticed when we started eating candlelight dinner too with my 3-year-old that they eat all of their food without any just like there's no argument about it. They will sit at the table longer. Our kids will talk and communicate with us. We don't have to probe them about their day. It's like,
Hmm.
yes, the candlelight dinner it's really a magical piece. And if you're gonna do one simple thing, snow angels and candlelight dinners, that's my takeaway.
Yes, I love that. That is so actionable, so practical, and so just gentle and normal, which is like all of this is just human stuff. What about for the folks who can't make it up to your neck of the woods
Yeah,
or prairies? How do they get in touch with you, and how can you
I
help
would
them?
love if people would come and visit, especially if you've never experienced cold winter
Hmm.
or snow, or even a sun that sets at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Just to experience it once in December or January will probably change your life because it is so incredible. If you have long term health conditions or something like that, or if you live here and have noticed, weird, I have type 2 diabetes. Oh, we have MS in the family. Strange, everybody has cancer. All these little things you might want to start thinking about your light environment. And I do have a Substack because we're on Substack right now. And I do lots of like Zoom consults if people want to pick my brain a little bit more. Honestly, my DMs are always open. I think most of this information is actually just free. Like once
Yep.
you hear like the protocols and things, people are like, "What? Really? Really? That's it?" That's all I'm doing, and I'm like, "Yes, it's
Hmm.
honestly that simple." We've
Hmm.
just overcomplicated life as a human in the modern world, 21st century, and
Yeah.
so we can take it down down a level and make it quite simple and accessible,
Hmm.
and really that's my whole objective. Nico makes this information so easy and attainable, and it's like, I just want people around me to know that because we could all be a lot healthier and feel more vital as humans if we just took it back a little bit and spent more time with nature and learning from nature and everything that it does for us.
Love that. Thank you so much, Janelle, for coming. You explain everything so well and you do make it seem so easy. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time today. And I'm so excited to continue learning with you. You share things with me that are awesome that hadn't crossed my radar yet. And it's wonderful having you in the community. So thank you for being here. We'll get this episode processed and sent out. I did just finally get this connected to the podcast app. So people who want to listen in can, podcast wise while they're driving or whatever can now do that, which is really exciting to make this more accessible because, yeah, if you can just start having some candlelit dinners and make some time to play in the snow, it's amazing that like it'll bring so much joy to you and your family.
Yeah. And honestly, that's part of the magic of quantum biology and circadian health is this thread of pleasure and joy
Yeah.
that runs through it all. Because once you tap into it, you're like, oh, life is supposed to be fun and pleasurable. Who knew?
Yep, it really is. Well, on that note, I'm going to close this out. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing up, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
See you.